Last year, you made a powerful statement saying the reason people are watching women's basketball is not just because of one player, but because of you too. A year later, do you feel like you're
Next question.
Last year, a seemingly offhand moment between Angel Reese and a reporter became the perfect metaphor for the WNBA's internal struggle. Reese had declared with conviction that the reason people watched women's basketball wasn't just one player, it was you too. But fast forward 1 year, and everything had shifted. Caitlin Clark's presence was no longer just a storyline, it was the storyline. Her rise in popularity wasn't organic, it was volcanic. Sold-out arenas, viewership records, and cultural relevance, she had become a phenomenon. And while any smart league would have wrapped their arms around such a generational figure, the WNBA didn't. Instead, it tried to downplay, deflect, and distance itself from her spotlight. They questioned her hype, mocked her fans, and feared what she represented. The league didn't know how to handle finally having a superstar, especially one who hadn't come through their traditional ranks. But in a league desperate for attention, she became the main character, whether they liked it or not. When Caitlin Clark entered the league, it wasn't like a rookie joining the pros. It was more like a superstar entering her next act.
She broke the record making that shot to begin with. There's just like a certain star quality and like star power there. But it takes you being confident enough, willing enough to be like, oh, no. I know what you want.
She had already shattered college records, including becoming the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, male or female, and carried Iowa to back-to-back national title games. Her draft wasn't just televised, it felt like a national event. And the numbers didn't lie.
Now, if we say her stats are today, what?
20 points, 8.4 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
But 5
That's crazy.
Viewership for her debut game topped 2.1 million. Every game she played turned into a must-see spectacle. Scalpers were charging playoff-level prices just for regular season tickets. But what's wild is that even as the data proved her value, the narrative tried to resist her. Veteran stars who had long waited for the league to rise felt sidelined by her sudden dominance. There was resentment that Caitlin didn't pay her dues, that she skipped the line. But the truth was this: she wasn't just riding a wave. She was the wave. And the WNBA, for better or worse, was now strapped to it. Once it became clear Caitlin wasn't going away, something darker began to emerge: physical resistance. It started on the court. Screens became harder. Off-ball contact more aggressive. Fouls that would have been called for any other player were met with swallowed whistles. It was almost like there was a silent agreement. Make her prove she belongs, and make her feel it. Instead of protecting their brightest attraction, the league let her take hits, literally. But instead of folding, Clark responded like a champion. She kept showing up, kept fighting, and after the Olympic break, she came back stronger, both physically and mentally. Her numbers surged. Her confidence grew. And she proved that she wasn't just surviving the WNBA's hazing, she was mastering it. While many waited for the hype to fade, Caitlin was evolving right before their eyes, and there was nothing her doubters could do to stop it. With the physical pushback failing to derail her, the WNBA entered its next psychological phase: bargaining. The narrative started to shift, not to attack Caitlin directly, but everything around her. Critics claimed she was overhyped, not because of skill, but because of her race. They pointed fingers at the media, at her fans, and even at the league's promotional strategies. Suddenly, if you supported Caitlin, it wasn't because of her record-breaking assists or game-changing presence. It was because of privilege. But that argument couldn't survive under scrutiny. Because while others complained, she kept delivering. The stats didn't care about skin color. The sold-out arenas didn't care about narratives. The only thing that mattered was results, and Caitlin was producing those at a historic rate. The truth was unavoidable. Clark wasn't getting special treatment. She was creating special moments. And the only thing her detractors could do was twist themselves into knots trying to explain it away. Then came the ultimate twist. The same players who once shaded her began lining up to play beside her. Veterans like DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, and Sydney Colson, proven winners with championship experience, didn't just end up in Indiana by coincidence. They chose to play there. And the reason was obvious: Caitlin Clark.
But the WNBA last year, bless their hearts, finally got a star.
and they didn't know that. They couldn't figure it out. Well, we don't want to put too much Caitlin Clark on. Nope, every game. More Caitlin Clark all the time, always. Caitlin Clark is easily the most influential athlete in a team sport since Michael Jordan.
What once was a franchise mocked for being undesirable suddenly became the most attractive destination in the WNBA. These weren't benchwarmers looking for minutes. They were champions looking for legacy. And they understood what Caitlin represented. She wasn't just the best story in the W. She was the future. She brought eyes, fans, and energy no team could manufacture on its own. And being around her meant being part of something historic. The Indiana Fever didn't just become a contender. They became the league's epicenter. All because of one rookie who refused to play small. With veterans arriving and fan engagement exploding, the WNBA had no choice but to adapt. It started with arenas. Teams accustomed to playing in small venues were suddenly booking NBA-sized arenas when Caitlin Clark came to town. Demand dictated the move. Fans weren't just interested. They were ravenous. Then came the broadcast schedule. Out of Indiana's 44 regular season games, 41 were nationally televised. That's not just visibility, that's saturation. The networks weren't hedging their bets anymore. They were all in on Caitlin, and the money followed. Preseason games, yes, preseason, were selling out 15,000-seat arenas with average ticket prices approaching $650. That's nearly $10 million in revenue. Just to watch a warm-up. It was no longer theoretical. The Caitlin Clark effect was now a financial powerhouse. And finally, even the WNBA began realizing that this wasn't just a moment. It was a movement they couldn't afford to miss. Caitlin Clark's Iowa homecoming sealed the deal. It wasn't just another game, it was a coronation. Over 1.3 million people watched a WNBA preseason matchup. That number wasn't just good, it was historic. No NBA preseason game in the last 7 years had touched it. No MLB spring training game ever came close. And it wasn't just the ratings. It was the scene. The same arena where she broke the NCAA scoring record was once again the stage, and in a moment of cinematic timing, Clark hit a three from the same spot. She didn't just acknowledge the moment, she orchestrated it. And the crowd, the cameras, and even the opposing team responded. Brazil's players didn't just shake hands. They swarmed her for autographs and selfies. Because to them, she wasn't just a rising star. She was already their Jordan. In that moment, the line between hype and legacy disappeared. Caitlin Clark had crossed it. The ripple effect became a tidal wave. Media outlets once skeptical of Clark were now tripping over themselves to celebrate her. Articles shifted from critiques to praises. Analysts began counting her stats on air like fans at a college game. Even former players who once dismissed her began admitting the obvious. She wasn't just great, she was transformational. For the first time, voices throughout the sport started speaking in unison, recognizing that Caitlin Clark wasn't just helping the league. She was redefining it. And this wasn't PR spin, it was earned. Her leadership, her clutch play, her ability to command attention while staying grounded, it all added up to something the WNBA hadn't seen in decades. A true superstar in every sense. And the best part, she wasn't done. This was just the beginning of what looked like a Hall of Fame trajectory, and the league finally knew it. What sets Caitlin apart isn't just her skill, it's her mentality. While others rest, she works. Off-season for Clark wasn't vacation time, it was grind time. She traveled from high-profile events like the Masters and NFL owners' meetings straight to morning workouts. No excuses. No skipping days. Just relentless preparation. It's the type of mindset that echoes the late Kobe Bryant, the legendary Mamba mentality. And the results showed. She returned to training camp bigger, faster, and sharper. Her reads were cleaner, her playmaking tighter, and her shooting more lethal. While other players were finding their rhythm, Clark was already locked in. She wasn't trying to adjust to the WNBA anymore. She was trying to take it over. And everyone, from teammates to rivals to fans, saw the difference. Caitlin Clark wasn't just preparing for year 2. She was preparing to make it hers. Now, the league finds itself in a new era, one shaped by a player wearing number 22. The grief that once lingered in the eyes of veterans has turned into acceptance, or at least silent acknowledgement. Some players, like Sophie Cunningham, embraced Clark from day one. Others stayed quiet. But all of them now live in the same reality. Caitlin Clark isn't going away. She's rewriting the rules. She's changing the math. She's altering how we talk about women's basketball. And the narrative has flipped. Instead of questioning her presence, people are now asking how high she can fly. MVP talks, all-time debates, generational comparisons. It's no longer taboo to say Caitlin Clark might be the biggest thing the WNBA has ever seen. And as the crowd roars, the arenas sell out, and the world watches. One thing is certain, Caitlin didn't just arrive. She took over. So here we are, at the dawn of something the WNBA has never experienced before. Not just a player who scores points, but a force who moves culture, moves revenue, and moves the game forward. Caitlin Clark didn't wait for permission to change the league. She walked in and did it anyway. From record-breaking viewership to reshaping where games are played, from silence to praise, her impact is undeniable. And if this is what she's doing in year one, just imagine what's next. Whether you're a day one fan or just now tuning in, buckle up, because this ride is just getting started. And if you want to stay on top of everything happening in this new era of women's basketball, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the Caitlin Clark effect is only going to get louder.